What's going on, everybody? I'm Jay Ray, and in this video I'm going to show you how I finished making this beautiful cutting board. So I got my workbench made finally. Got the top flattened out to where I can use it, and I'm going to go ahead and set this up. I've got a couple of stop blocks here, one on each side of this board. And what I did was I looked down the side of the groove here and lined it up with my router bit to where that router bit will just barely be coming past the edge of the inside of this groove right here. So hopefully it'll stop in the right place on both sides. And it looks like it did the same thing on this edge. So I'm trying to stop it right when it breaks through the edge of this groove that's existing right here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and see if we can go route the rest of this juice groove on this board right here. Worked out pretty well. I'm not sure how well that comes out on the video, but made the groove nice and straight along the edge, except for on the very end it came in just a little bit. So I'm gonna have to see if I can straighten that up by sanding it. Also around the corners here I'm gonna have to sand, and in this area it's on the two ends where I made it a little bit wider. It's got a little bit of a bump up in the middle, so I'm gonna have to see if I can sand that out as well, and hopefully this will turn out to be a really nice board. I really like the colors of it and the way it's turning out. So I'm not sure if you can see that it's kind of split the maple and the walnut right there for the juice groove around the edges. But time to get to sanding. So I've seen lots of people take the cutting boards and try to chamfer the bottom edges with their table saw. The problem with that is it takes a lot of trial and error to get the adjustment right. So what I decided to do is just use my router table with this chamfer bit that I've got, and if I can set the height right on that chamfer bit, then I can get a good chamfer on the bottom of the cutting board. So that's what I decided to do. Unfortunately, I did it off camera. I already used the chamfer bit. I've already put a chamfer on the bottom of this board. But basically, it's pretty simple. All you do is set the height of your router bit to where you want it. This one has a bearing on the top, so it makes it pretty easy. So then you just run your board across, and voila, you've got a chamfer on the bottom of your board. Of course, on this router table, the feed is always in that direction. I've already sanded a lot on this board. I sanded it up to 320 grit. Started with 80 grit, then 120, then 180, and then I jumped up to the 320, and I sanded it. And then what I did was I took a paper towel and wet it down with water and ran it across the surface of this board in order to raise the grain on it. If you're curious about that, the reason why you raise the grain on the boards is to make it to where when people wash their cutting boards, it doesn't get a rough texture on it. So I raised the grain on this cutting board already, and I've already sanded it afterwards to 320 grit. So now the next step that I got to do is go ahead and put some oil on this board. What I chose to use is this Howard's cutting board oil. It's what I could find at Lowe's. So it's basically it's just mineral oil with some vitamin E. What I'm going to do now, I believe, is every woodworker's favorite part of a project, which is applying the finish and seeing what the end result is going to look like. So we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of this oil on the board, and then I'm just going to spread it around with a paper towel, and you can see the grain really shine. The color of it's going to pop really good and give you that result that everybody likes to see. Oh yeah, the Paduk and the Purple Heart really sticking out here, and the walnut's coming alive, that dark brown color. So I'm just going to keep applying this oil until it won't absorb anymore. I'm going to let it sit for a little while. The end right here is really taking it in and absorbing it. This edge grain on the bottom here is taking a little bit for it to soak in. I personally really like the way this is looking. I like the way the Purple Heart just really shine against that walnut and maple there. Really like the colors. So I've got the first coat of oil on here. I'm going to let this sit for a little while, and then I'm going to come back and check on it and see if I need to apply some more oil to it. And if not, then if the oil is still sitting on it, then I'll buff it out with a rag, and then I'll flip it over and oil the other side. Well, the cutting board soaked up the oil pretty well. I think it's looking pretty nice, but we got one more step to do before we're finished with this. What I'm going to do is put this Butcher Block conditioner on here. It's a food grade mineral oil and waxes. It has beeswax in it, and mineral oil and a couple other waxes. So I'm going to go ahead and get that put on this cutting board, and then after that's done, we let it sit for about 20 minutes and then buff it off. Well, here we have it. It only took me about a month to finish this project, but I finally got my first cutting board done. I ended up using this Howard's cutting board oil and the Howard's cutting board conditioner, or Butcher Block conditioner here, in order to finish this board up. But I think it turned out pretty well. It's got a nice smooth finish on it, and I'm pretty pleased with the results. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you like this style of cutting board? Should I do something different in the future? Is there something else that you would like to see me make? If so, leave the comments below, and I'll try to make the videos that you want to see. So that's all I've got for this video. Please give me a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future content coming on J Ray's DIY. So that's all I've got for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to